Hello, I'm Dan Perry and this is my Master's Science dissertation, The Hiding Curriculum Towards the Development of LGBTQ Curriculum in Higher Education, Chapter 3, Get a Room, The Deconstruction of Neoliberal Capitalism, Queer Anarchists, Sexual Citizenship, Queer Temporary Autonomous Zones and Higher Education. This presentation is called Queer Anarchists, Sexual Citizenship, Interventions in Counterpublics. To the overview. So this video is slightly different, that I give it an introduction and kind of like an outro as well. So there's an introduction to the video. Then we go on to talk about queer anarchists and sexual citizenship, and then we look at strategies which are, in this case, intervention and disruption, but more on that later. It is my belief that in a temporary autonomous zone, a queer community of practice could be cultivated. Again, I will not spend too much time on the debates around temporary autonomous zones, as this is not the focus of the paper, or in this case the video, but rather to suggest how one may work within the neoliberalist capitalist normalising system in relation to higher education. However, to do this, we first need to understand the role of queer anarchists and their stance on sexual citizenship, which is also explored. From there, we turn our attention to strategies used to disrupt hetero-homo-normative spaces through the use of interventions and counterpublics. Finally, I explore what a queer temporary autonomous zone may look like and how it may function in higher education. Returning to chronobiopolitics and curriculum, I disrupt the idea that time in higher education should be economically productive. I should also mention at this point, this is a two-part video, and some of this is actually explored in the next video as well. Jepson, 2010, argues that society is heteronormative and constructs heterosexuality as a universal norm, which makes it invisible but can make LGBTQ people highly visible in society, especially if deviating from expected norms. Heteronormativity, Jepson explained further, requires that the binaries of cisgender, male, female, are fixed and stable categories, but queer bodies can challenge this notion. Jepson argues that queer anarchists criticise the need for particular behaviours to be categorised or recategorised as normal. Queer anarchists consider all consensual, unforced sexualities, genders and intimacies as legitimate. This then challenges the hetero-homo-normativity with its anti-oppressive politics. Queer anarchists believe that the nation-state, through legal systems and its normative neoliberal capitalist discourses, establish sexual citizenship rules for entry, belonging and success, from which queers are systematically excluded. However, Jefferson, 2010, argues by belonging to a queer nation it can be achieved by challenging and contravening sexuality and gender norms. Jefferson refers to two anti-normative strategies that have been used by activists in the past: intervention in the heteronormative public spaces and queer counterpublics. The first strategy is intervention. that announces presence of LGBTQ plus people by interrupting heteronormative public spaces. It achieves this interruption by challenging heteronormative assumptions of heterosexuality by displaying queer sexuality in public. The heteronormative construct in society assumes that anything that deviates from heterosexuality should be in private and not be in public space, and this heightens queer visibility. Jefferson 2010 explains whilst queer intervention is important, such as kiss-ins in malls, shops, bars and public services that refuse service, they tend to reinforce stereotypes of the homonormative mainstream. The second strategy, queer counterpublics, according to Jefferson, are more credible but not without problems. Queer counterpublics would usually occur in seemingly LGBT-friendly spaces, such as gay bars or villages, that enable activist discourses and socializing. However, as mentioned previously, some queer people cannot take part in counterpublics because they are usually held in the commercialized homonormative consumerist scene, which can be exclusionary. This is because sexual citizenship is policed by a boundary around the gay scene, which refuses access to those who do not fit the white able-bodied cisgendered middle-class male with westernized beauty ideals. The gay scene in some respects seems to have a large amount of similar exclusion and access problems that higher education has, because they are both aimed at white able-bodied cisgendered middle-class males. Contrastingly, Jefferson also argues queer counterpublics can also build unoppressive social relationships that allow space for sexual citizenship and the potential to help contribute to the process of creating alternative visions of the world. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing you again in the next video, continuing in the chapter Education, Space and Queer Autonomous Zones. See you later.